now. And we'll go ahead and get started. I'm Erica Mann. I'm one of the school counselors here. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to share my screen and we will get started. All right, so our topic is searching for scholarships. Let me get to, we want to do it in slideshow format. Would help. All right, searching for scholarships. Welcome, welcome. We will do a question and answer at the end. So if you have any questions at all during this presentation, please just go ahead and type them into the chat, and then we'll be going through them and we'll read them out loud for everybody to hear and answer them as best as we possibly can towards the end of the presentation. So college costs. So the reality is college is expensive, and it doesn't look like anytime soon those costs are coming down. So we like to think of college debt as, I guess, good debt. If you're going to say there's any kind of good debt to have, college debt would be it, only because it is an investment into our students' future or into your child's future. They are paying to get the college and the education needed to then earn the degree that they need for their career that they have chosen. It's often a hard concept for our high school students to understand and to grasp the amount that college is. And then also when we're talking about, we don't want you to come out of school with a lot of school loan debt, that also, they can't quite understand that until you're living it, right? So we are trying to really, really, really talk about the importance of applying for scholarships and how that can really help a child in their college career.
So when we're talking about scholarships, there are different types of scholarships that you can really think about, and they fall essentially into three main buckets. Your institutional scholarships, those are the scholarships that are directly from the college. And that's where a huge chunk of the money that kids will get in scholarships will come from. So that money that is directly from that college that they are giving to the students to be attending their school. The second grouping of scholarships are local scholarships, and that's going to be scholarships here in Worthington that students are able to apply to because they're a student at Kilbourne. And then the third classification of scholarships are your private scholarships. That's going to be when you're doing your general searches and looking for scholarship information in general, those would be your private scholarships. So we're going to talk a little bit more about those. Your institutional scholarships, this is what a lot of times when you hear colleges talk about merit-based aid, this is what they're talking about. So this is going to be awarded to kids for some outstanding accomplishment. Your students that have good grades, they get merit-based scholarships. So they're getting this institutional money from the colleges, sorry for our bells again, to recognize them for their excellence. And maybe it's not for academics, maybe it's for the arts. Your athletic scholarships for kids that go on to play sports in college, they can get that. There's other things for leadership, for community service, anything that the college wants to reward in students, they're able to do so. And so sometimes it's based upon their college goals. They may have donors that have donated money that have said, we'll give you a scholarship for a particular the business program or for a specific area of need that they have that the donor feels passionate about. So sometimes that might be for students from Franklin County, or it could be for students who have a single parent or who have experienced cancer. So the college may be awarding that money directly from their school to families based upon what those donors have given. But sometimes it's based upon the college's goals themselves. So if their university has set a goal that they want to increase their first generation college students, then they might be giving additional money in the form of a scholarship to students who fall into that classification. Or if they're trying to help boost their minority population, they might be able to earmark some scholarships that are specific for that. And so a lot of your scholarships that are going to come from the colleges, that can be different as far as what they're going to require. Some of them might require you to do a separate college application for those scholarship application for those college scholarship dollars. And some of them won't require that, and they will just look at everyone and consider them based upon their actual college application to see what scholarships they would qualify for. When we look at local scholarships, this would be clubs, organizations, businesses. We have some that are in memory of alumni who have been established that are there for Worthington. So it might be just for Kilbourne. There are some that are just for Kilbourne. There are some that are for Kilbourne or Thomas, and it's just Worthington. And there are even some local scholarships that are for Central Ohio that we'll get information about. And all of that information is stuff that is typically the most common for local scholarship time is that it happens during the spring of their senior year, but all of that information gets posted on the counselor website. And so Mrs. Mann is taking you through that. When you hover over that college and career tab, if you go down to where it says scholarship search, that's where all of the local scholarships are placed. Once we get local scholarships, all of that information will be on here. We also put any other scholarships that we get information about. So if somebody sends us information about scholarships, we go ahead and post it on here just to make it super easy for families to find. Because we're trying to make this as simple and straightforward as possible. And you can always click on that over on the right-hand side where there's the eyeglass feature. That will get you more information about the scholarship, usually with that link to the direct scholarship. So we try to make this process as easy as possible. And when we get to the local scholarships, those scholarships that are offered by the PTO, by Activity Club, by some of the local orthodontists, the real estate organizations, when those scholarships all get announced and get shared, all of that's going to happen through that counselor website. And it's a really great opportunity for students to take advantage of those scholarships that are only being competed against by other Kilbourne seniors. And so every year when we see the applications come in, it's always shocking to me if there's only 2 or 3 that are for somebody that's looking at to major in education. I think there's one of the scholarships is for a student who is going to major in education. And it's, that there are more than students than that are looking at education, but they don't always take that time to fill out the application. So taking advantage of local scholarships, they tend to be a little bit smaller, $250, $500, but it still adds up quickly. And then the third section of the scholarships are those private scholarships that I was mentioning. So this is where you're going to be looking at your general scholarship search. A really important place to start and be just investigating whether or not for the parents or for the students' employers to see whether or not you as a parent or guardian or the kids in their jobs, if your place of employment or your student's place of employment offers scholarships. Because a lot of times there are organizations that do have some scholarships. Same thing along those similar lines. If you're involved with a place of worship, if you're involved with different clubs or groups or organizations that you or other people in your family are involved with, those are all additional opportunities to investigate who's got scholarships. So I had a student last year who was able to get a scholarship through the credit union that they did their banking with. A different student was able to get a scholarship that was connected to the Daughters of the American Revolution that her grandmother was involved with. And so being able to seek out all of those different funding opportunities and keeping all of that in mind when you're trying to figure out where else should I look? Look at the things that you're already involved with. If you're involved with an organization, if you're volunteering with an organization, if you work for a place, those are places to start off by looking at to see if any of that also has scholarship opportunities available for students.
Forgot I had to unmute myself. I was just about to talk and be muted. Anyways, so as we've discussed, there are so many scholarships out there. And as Ms. Abbott mentioned, students really have to put in a little bit of that work to access them and apply to them. So just to reemphasize, the counselor website is constantly updated with any of those local scholarships and any other scholarships that are sent our way. And then we also have a section on our website leading to many of these other websites listed here on the site that you'll see. And Mrs. Mann is helping us out again by showing you just exactly how to access that. So the reality is that students will have to apply for many scholarships in order to increase their chances of receiving any kind of scholarships. And as you'll see on our website, there are so many different ways to access information about a variety of scholarships that students can apply for if they qualify. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then just some more things about, scholarships and how these work. So some scholarships, and Miss Abbott had touched on this a little bit, but some scholarships do require that the FAFSA be completed first, whether you believe that you'll qualify for financial aid or not. So some scholarships list financial need as a factor in order to qualify for that scholarship, in which case they'll need to have the FAFSA on file in order to show that financial need. But in contrast, other scholarships are set aside for individuals who maybe didn't qualify for financial aid on the FAFSA, but regardless, they would still need to have that FAFSA information on file to have that specific financial information on, the docket. So I can acknowledge that, in addition to college applications, applying to scholarships can feel time consuming. And because of that, it will be super important for students to stay organized and stay on top of everything. So actually on the counselor website, we do have a scholarship tracker that students can use to help, stay on top of deadlines, the different qualifications, and the various scholarships that they do qualify for. So when they're looking up these various scholarships, it's important to, include everything that's required. So you'll see some things listed here. Make sure if it's required, having an essay, a resume, recommendation letter. So making sure they're reaching out to appropriate recommenders, things like that. And so even though this process can feel really time consuming, kind of a fun way to look at it. If a student, say, spends 10 hours working on all of their scholarship applications and ends up even just receiving one $500 scholarship, that means that they were paid $50 an hour to work on scholarship applications, which is not a bad gig. So ultimately, it's worth the time and effort to get a little bit of money toward college. So when looking at colleges, we always talk about finding a good fit. If I had a nickel for every time I said good fit, I would be a rich lady. And in part of this is that financial piece. The financial piece also counts toward that good fit. And scholarships can be a great way to help make certain colleges be a better fit and feel more affordable. And with that being said, many colleges actually have a net price calculator on their website. And this helps families determine the actual price that they might pay at that institution. So, the total cost of attendance minus the gift aid, the money that you don't have to pay back, that the student might be awarded. And College Board also has a net price calculator for some of these schools as well, where you put in your data and then you get a price estimate in terms of net cost of attendance. So having a better understanding of what the net price for each college your child is interested in can really help broaden their choices and also just compare the amount of aid money that they potentially could receive from each school. So helping them find that good fit.
Okay, sorry, I had to unmute myself. So the FAFSA, the free application for financial student aid, it does open in December for students to complete. They are revamping it. It's going to be a new format this year, and that's why the deadline has been pushed out. Luckily, we are hosting a financial aid night presentation at Kilbourne on November 29th. That's going to be at 7 p.m. in the auditorium. It's going to be face-to-face, and we really encourage that you will come. We have someone from Ohio State. She will be here to walk through the process, and she has a fabulous presentation. She's been able to help support our Kilbourne students and answer questions for the past several years. But this year in particular, it's new to everyone. So there's going to be a lot more questions that may come up. So please mark your calendars, plan on being here on November 29th at 7 p.m. And that really concludes, let me get to the next slide. There we go. So go ahead if you have any questions, which you may, and we wouldn't be surprised, put them in the chat. And we do just want to give another plug that our next Lunch and Learn presentation is going to be Friday, November 10th. The topic is going to be career fit and trends. So we're trying to find topics that may be of interest to you. We really like doing this Lunch and Learn series. If you think of something that you're like, oh, I really wish the counselors would talk about this, please email your your child's school counselor and let us know. We're always looking for new topics. And this is just another way for us to connect and have outreach with the parents. So at this time, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we can start looking at, oops, I don't want to do that.
Stop the first question that came in was, if a school states that they only provide need-based financial aid, does that mean that there are not any institutional scholarships available from that school? Yes, that's what that means. So that they're not doing any merit-based scholarships. They're only doing it based upon that financial need. And a lot of times you're going to see that happening, that type of a messaging happening from schools that meet 100% of need. So they're going to say anyone that has, whatever your contributions are, they're going to meet all of that. And so they're not doing any merit-based scholarships, but any additional scholarships would have to come from, private or local scholarships that a student would be bringing to the table.
Okay, the next question is, will this deck be shared later? Yes, this will be on the counselor's website. This whole Zoom is recorded. We can also add the deck as well and look for that early next week. The next question, can we fill out the FAFSA now? No. December at some point is when that will open. They haven't released the exact date, but we will certainly email that information out to you. But it will also, hopefully, by our financial aid night, November 29th, we will have a date for when that will open.
And what we can tell you is for sure, it according to law, it has to be launched before January 1st. So at the very least, by December 31st, that will go live. But it'll be sometime in December is what they're still saying. And you can watch the FAFSA website for updates, but we looked at it earlier today and it still says in December.
Is there a way to sort scholarship opportunities by grade level? So the majority of the scholarship opportunities are for current seniors, and that will happen of spring of their senior year. I'm not sure. I got to get on there.
There is a scholarship that's out there right now there's one that's for current juniors, which is Handshake America. That one is only for juniors, and it says in the title that it's for juniors. The other one that's in there that is not for seniors is not really a true scholarship, but it's a scholarship opportunity to go to a program, which is HOBY, which is the Hugh O'Brien Youth Leadership program. And so that's the best place that we had to be able to put that opportunity for students that get that scholarship to go to that HOBY program. So those are the two things that are not for seniors. Everything else that's on there would be for current seniors.
And if you're looking at that scholarship search on our website, it'll say right in the award name if it's for juniors or for sophomores. So if it doesn't say, then it's for seniors. The next question, do you have to be a senior to apply for scholarships? So when you're looking at the qualifications for the scholarship, when you click on the magnifying glass, it will state what the qualifications need to be. In most cases, like we just said, it has to be a current senior.
And if you're doing that search for the private scholarships, like if you're using the tools that Mrs. Chanel was talking about going out and looking at some of those other websites, you might have some that are out there for the younger students, but it's typically for those seniors because that's who's motivated to looking for money for college. we still recommend that people look out at the information that's out there in those younger years, because it gives them an idea of what to expect for their senior year. A lot of times the same scholarships are there year after year. But then you then know, like, oh, if I'm going to try to apply for this, I would need to have this many hours of community service. I better get moving on that. So it gives you a little bit more time to be able to adjust with that too.
How competitive are the scholarships? Can everyone get at least one? No, they're pretty competitive. Especially the local scholarships. Every year we have quite a few students who do apply to those, and making sure that students are paying attention to the deadlines and what is needed that completes the scholarship application. If it says it needs a recommendation letter, make sure your child is including the recommendation letter. If it's due by April 1st, make sure it is in by April 1st. Those are the easiest ways to eliminate the students who don't follow the procedure. But no, not every single person is guaranteed a scholarship, and it is highly competitive.
And then I'll respond to the person that can't hear it, because I can't respond to her audibly. So I'll give her a note in the chat that says that the recording will be on the website.
Yeah. So any other questions for you guys? Okay, we'll kind of hang out here. If there are no other questions, then we appreciate you spending your Friday afternoon with us. Again, this will be on our website. And if you let this information marinate with you over the weekend and you think of something, please do not hesitate to email your child's counselor. And we'll see you on November 29th for the financial aid presentation, November 10th for the Lunch and Learn, but I'll send out a reminder like I always do.
Thanks, everybody.
And as people are getting off, if you do have other questions, feel free to let us know.